Hello, I'm Dave, and I'm going to use Google Earth to show you around Yellowstone. A lot of people want to go see Yellowstone National Park. It's amazing. It's in the state of Wyoming, up in the far northwest corner. It borders Montana and Idaho. And I'm going to show you some of the sights to see. 95% of the people are not going to go in the backcountry and go into the wilderness and backpack. Most everyone comes in and drives around. You really need to spend more than a day. If you're coming in for a day, then you really should maybe just hit one spot, which I would probably suggest Old Faithful. So let's put the boundary here of the national park so you can get an idea. And let me just do this. And here we are. So this square here is about 55 miles by almost 60 miles. This is Yellowstone National Park. To the south you've got Grand Teton and National Park. There's different routes to get into the park entrances. You got the south entrance at Grand Teton. You've got the east entrance, and that takes you over to Cody. So here's the road to Cody. Then you can come up here, and either through Red Lodge or you can come up north of Cody and get onto that Beartooth Highway, which is spectacular scenery that takes you into Cook City, Montana, right up here. And so there it is, Cook City, right in here. So this Beartooth Highway is just amazing, and it comes into the northeast entrance. And then Mammoth Hot Springs is coming out of Gardner, Montana. This is where the big arch is. This is really amazing too. And then you've got your West Yellowstone. So if you're coming up, most people will be coming up out of Grand Teton National Park. It makes sense. You hit the Grand Tetons and then you head north. Once you enter the park, there's many different waypoints, views to see, but I would suggest the first place that's really worth stopping at is Lewis Falls. It's a really nice waterfall. I don't know if I can get this picture to come up, but really beautiful waterfall there. And again, Lewis Falls. And let's go down the street view. Sometimes it's hard to park there on a busy day, especially, it's warm out. There'll be people in the water. Here we go. All this construction wasn't here when I visited, but you can park over in here and you can walk up to the falls, and you'll see a lot of people, walking around in the water if it's a warm day. But Lewis Falls, that's your first site that you're going to see. Remember, it's a huge park, like the size of Connecticut, so take your time, go slow. That's why one day is not really good, because you start rushing. You want to see so many sites and you just don't have time. Me and my wife spent 3 days there, and that's a good amount of time to see things. You can spend a month there and still not see everything, but 3 days was a good amount of time. So as the road continues, the next place we stopped was the Grant Visitor Center. This has a really neat museum, like an interpretive display concerning the wildfires of 1988. A very political, giant fire, and it was where the Park Service said, we're going to let the fire burn. And they got a lot of heat for that from the public, from Congress. But the Park Service said fire is natural. And if we keep putting fires out, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And politicians were like, why are we letting our most beautiful park burn to the ground? In the long run, when you go there now, there's a lot of displays showing what the fire did and how new vegetation came up. And, it's definitely a plus for the wildlife. So after you go past that, then you continue up this way. and you head over to, if you head west from there, so you can go north or you can go west. So I suggest you go west and you go to Old Faithful. Now this is where me and my wife used, we had a cabin here, right about, in fact I think that's the exact cabin, right here, a little cabin. It was nice. And we used that as like our base of operations for 3 days. Old Faithful, if you only got one day, then you should come here. There's hiking trails everywhere. Miles of trails that are really easy, that show you the geysers and hot mud spots, and of course Old Faithful. You know, you've got right in here benches and seats where you can watch it go off, and it's really cool. The Old Faithful Lodge, I wish we could have stayed there. It's expensive and it's hard to get. You got to probably, I imagine, you know, a year or 2 years out to get a reservation there. It's a beautiful lodge. It's the inside is just amazing. I don't know if it'll let us go inside here or not. Sometimes Google Earth will do that, and it does. You know, I did a video of this. I'll try to put it in the links. It's just this massive place. You got a different levels. If I remember correctly, over here you actually have a bar. There was somebody playing piano and acoustic guitar, so you got live music. You can have drinks. You've got gift shops, and then at the end over here you've got a restaurant. It's just a gorgeous, really iconic structure in the National Park Service. And then here's a patio here. And so after we'd been out all day hiking and exploring, we'd sit here in the late afternoon, early evening. We'd have some drinks. I'd have an Irish coffee. My wife would have wine. And we sit on the porch here, and you can watch Old Faithful go off, and you'll see elk wandering around and bison. This is a neat spot. There's just a lot to do here. So if you only got one day, see Old Faithful. But I suggest that you spend at least 3 days. Keep in mind, too, in Yellowstone, go see the stuff early in the morning before 9:30 or 10, because that's about when the tour buses come in. You know, and they're offloading 100 people or so. So that's when things get really packed. So you know, get up at 5 in the morning or 4:30 in the morning, drive around looking for wildlife or hiking or taking pictures, and then about 10 o'clock, go to the areas where the tour buses aren't going to go. There's a lot of, just tons of places where you can just hike a little trail or visit some site that nobody usually goes to. There's a lot of room here. But places like Old Faithful, I mean, just look at the size of the parking lot. It's massive, and it's very busy in the mid-afternoon. So as you come up here, this is definitely another must site that you need to see. Grand Prismatic. And, you know, it's just this beautiful hot springs. And so you can come up here. Here's the main road, and you park here, and then you walk, and you can walk around some of it in here. We did that. Now, this is crazy busy, so anything after 10 you won't find parking. It gets backed up. But there's another place. So I'll show you a little secret. Before you even get there, there's this little road and parking lot, and it's about approximately a 1 mile trail. It's very easy, and there's just a little bit of elevation up here, but this overlooks the Grand Prismatic Spring. It's the overlook. So when you're down there and you're looking at it, it looks like a lake, and you don't get to see these little orange arms coming up. I think this is a picture here of what it looks like from the overlook. And let's see if we can. So there you go. You can start to see the colors, and you get a better perspective of the Grand Prismatic Spring. So I definitely would suggest it's a 1 mile hike, and there's a little bit of switchbacks, but the elevation's not too bad. But there's a really nice overlook, and it's beautiful, and you're looking straight down on it. I was there on a cloudy day. It still was beautiful, but during a sunny day, that's when you really start to see the colors. You can hear my cat in the background. She wants to go outside, but I won't let her. So, wherever you go when you're driving around, there's just hot springs and all kind of geyser type things everywhere. As the road continues, this is a nice little detour to check out Firehole Falls. So you drive up on the main road here, and it's a one-way road. And let me pull this down a little bit so you can see it. You drive down here and you follow this canyon, and then there's your waterfall right there. I can't bring this down. So real nice waterfall, beautiful area. Then it continues down here through this. It's just a little winding and twisty, but it's fairly flat. There's actually a swimming hole area where people swim. The water's warm, I guess, because of the thermal stuff. But then you come back out on the main road again. And then know that when you drive back up here, if you go to the left, then you go out of the park and you go to West Yellowstone, Montana. But you go right, and it's pretty scenery. There's some areas over in here where you're just driving and it's just pine forest, trees and trees for miles. But you come over here, and this was an interest to me. This is a nice meadow area with streams, but this is the Museum of the National Park Ranger. I was a law enforcement national park ranger for several years in my career. I'm a retired federal agent, but I never worked at Yellowstone. I wish I could have. It's a very hard park to get a job in. But being a national park ranger, this museum, it was something special for me to get a chance to go there. So as you go north from here, again, many different sights to see. There's geysers, there's overlooks. Up here is kind of a really neat area. It's called Sheep Eater Cliff, and little dirt road takes you out to it. And it's a geologic feature from there's the parking lot here. This really doesn't show it very well, but it's, from the lava from volcanic issues that have occurred in the past there. It reminded me a lot of Devil's Postpile National Monument, which is in the Sierra Nevadas here in California. Just almost identical, and it's almost identical to Devil's Tower, where you get those hexagon-shaped geologic features. So Sheep Eater Cliff is kind of fun, and then you got a nice creek here. Somewhere up in here, so you start going through some open country. There's a really neat interpretive display about when Chief Joseph was of the Nez Perce was fleeing from the U.S. Cavalry. So the Nez Perce did come through Yellowstone, and sadly, a couple visitors to Yellowstone National Park were killed by the Nez Perce. This was the middle of a war zone at that time. So, it was wild country back in the late 1800s. So the park became a park with President Grant, probably 1876, somewhere in there. And, the Chief Joseph, the chief that said, "I shall not fight it no more," and he tried to run to Canada before giving up. This occurred through parts of Yellowstone. This is up near the north entrance, and this is another kind of must-see. It's called Mammoth Hot Springs. You've got Fort Yellowstone. So the first park rangers were U.S. Army cavalry officers before the Park Service existed. This was part of the Department of War that had control over Yellowstone National Park. This is a really beautiful area, some really cool mountains over here. But Mammoth Hot Springs, and there's all kinds of trails that you can take. This one right here is easy. It's a boardwalk trail, and I'll see if I take you down in here. It'll show you. Yeah. perfect view here. It looks like ice cubes. And so you've got this hot springs with mineral deposits creating these like cube-like structures. And then just these are hot springs with mineral deposits being over the millennial just being deposited. So it's just, this is kind of neat. You know, I sound like a nerd, like being excited by this. You'll see water dripping off this, and this is just giving it this like steps. It's hard to believe that that's natural, not a man-made thing. It looks like ice, but it's just mineral deposits. And when you're here on this boardwalk, don't be surprised to see a herd of elk walk by. There's just a lot of elk up here at Mammoth. Here's that mountain ridge here, and then you've got gift stores, and you've got restaurants. Me and my wife ate at a really nice restaurant down here. You can get ice cream. You know, it can get warm in Yellowstone in the summertime. And then at the entrance here near Gardner, Montana, you've got, let's see if I can pull up a picture here of it. This is it, the iconic, you know, kind of like the Welcome to Yellowstone arch, the Roosevelt Arch. Very cool to see. Gardner is, you know, it's a nice little town with restaurants and hotels, and it's a cool little town on the edge of the park. So if you want to then, from there, you take, and let me go back to the road. It's easier to see. So from Mammoth, you take the road over here, and you're heading along. This is neat to see. This is the petrified tree. It's a tree stump that's a rock. It's been fossilized, and it's near Tower Junction. That's kind of neat to see. There's a chuck wagon thing that you can go on, chuck wagon rides and little stagecoach rides. We then follow this down to the Lamar Valley, and this is gorgeous. You're in this wide open valley, some really tall mountains on each side, and this is where a lot of wolves are seen. We did not see any wolves, but you will see hundreds, if not thousands, of bison. Please stay away from the bison. They can kill you. They're monsters, you know, like 1,000 pounds, and they're always angry. They don't like pretty much everything. So, but you'll see them all through here, rolling around like, you know, 50 or 60 bison rolling in the dust, you know, and it's just, it's amazing. Then we continued up here, and this is called, let's see if I can pronounce it right, Baronet Peak, and there's an overlook here. Now this is really important. This is before you go into Cook City. It's near the northeast entrance. Let's see if I can pull this up. And they don't really have a good picture of it, so I'll go to the road. So I want you to remember this little pull out here. Again, just gorgeous scenery, but it's just this massive rock. And what's important here is, so me and my wife pulled off here. We also have binoculars. That's a must if you're coming to Yellowstone. And you start right in here, and I got it on video. I'll try to put a link to my other video. But my wife's like, I see something white running around up here, up in the rocks. And so you get the binoculars, and we looked, and I had my camera zooming in, and it's mountain goats. So you will see they're native to here, mountain goats. They're shaggy, the shaggy white fur goats, and just they're amazing. They climb up on sheer rocks. But this is the area where it is. It's got, you'll know it has a big green meadow with this big rock mountain, and this Cook City is over here. But stop here, pull over, because you'll just see a mountain like this. Most people just drive on by. Get out of your car and start scanning these little flat areas, you know, like where I'm showing you. Right in here, all up and through here. This is safe for them. That's why they live up here, because not as many predators can get them up there. You might see them over here too. And just scan for little white dots, because that's what it'll look like at first, and then you zoom in, and then you'll see it's a mountain goat. So again, Baronet Peak. I apologize if that's not the right spelling. It's beautiful in this part, and you know what? This part of the park just doesn't get that many people. It's you know, it's you can come out here and it's just not going to be packed bumper to bumper traffic. So then we drove all the way back, and like I said, we spent several days. So you can take the road back from Tower Junction to where the falls are and Hayden Valley, and then to the lake. Get a map so you know where the loop is. But this is also a major tourist spot. This is Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. And so we hit two spots. One is Lower Falls Overlook, excuse me. And there's a nice parking lot here, and you see this is like a switchback trail that goes back and forth, and you can't really see it here, but there's this really beautiful overlook right at the giant falls, and you look straight down on it. I got some cool videos here. Look, when you're there, I would suggest, one, get a canister of oxygen. They're just little tanks that you can breathe. Some people really need it. Two, pace yourself. You're at over 7,000 feet here, and when me and my wife went, I had a backpack, and we each had two big, really big, the big giant things of Gatorade. One for my wife, one for me. You go down, it's not bad, and you can spend easily 45 minutes, maybe longer. It's up to you, but watching that water just roaring over the top, and it's just, you're looking down this giant gorge, and it's just amazing, and hearing that, it's so loud, that water roaring. The hike back is, you know, again, pace yourself. There's benches, and we would walk a little bit, sit on a bench, rest up. Yeah, I'm in better shape than my wife. I do a lot of hiking. My wife's not really into hiking, but she loved it down here. And we would drink our Gatorade, then we walk a little bit to the next bench. And we saw people much younger, just in flip-flops, walking down there with their lattes and ice chilled coffees. And these people were like, they were hurting coming back. Matter of fact, one young gal, like in her early 20s, Rangers had to go down with a stretcher, Rangers and EMTs, and bring her back. She had exhaustion. And, you know, I can't stress this enough. You got to drink water, or we drink Gatorade. That's good for you too, for electrolytes, mineral water. You got to drink a lot of fluids. You got to pace yourself. You know, take your time here. Don't think you can rush back up here. That altitude will really kick your butt. But once we got up here, then we drove down to Lookout Point. And now we're looking at what's really the iconic picture of Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. See if I can pull up this picture here. And there it is. This is the paintings, this is the postcards, posters. You know, that's this site here. You park your car and you walk out. It's usually pretty busy here, but you're looking straight down at the falls, and it's gorgeous. I mean, and it's really steep. Again, this is the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone, and this is just such a cool place. And then there's a few other pullouts on this road that you can go here, and you can go around, and there's another one here further down. This is just a really neat area. This is Canyon Village. So you've got your restaurants. I think you got a lodge and cabins over here. This is a busy place. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of tour buses, motorhomes, campers. This is a crazy busy place. So just keep in mind. And again, when you spend a couple of days there, that's where you say, hey, we're going to get up, you know, and we're going to pack a breakfast, because a lot of places aren't open yet. So get some hard-boiled eggs and a bagel, cream cheese. You know, make a cup of coffee at your cabin. And then you go out and you explore these places early in the morning when the tour buses haven't showed up and there's just not as many people. So after you go through that, the Lower Falls area, you keep going. This is called the Grand Loop Road. You come into Hayden Valley. Another place where people see bears and wolves. We didn't see that, but we saw, I mean, like 1,000 bison. And on my other video that I took of our trip, there's a bison jam. And so these bison will just lay down in the road and stand there. And it could be for an hour. Hopefully you don't have to use the restroom. And there'll be a 2-mile long traffic jam. And you sit in your car and, you know, here I am, me and my wife in my Ford F-150 pickup truck, and at eye level when we turned, bison were walking past us. This is how big they are. I mean, I'm in a big pickup truck, 4-wheel drive, and we're sitting there looking straight at the eyeball of a bison, and you know, we had the window down, you can hear them snorting, and you could just smell them as they're walking past you. They're just massive beasts. And when they're in the road, the rangers don't chase them off. They leave when they want to. And they'll be laying in the road and just walking around, and after an hour they'll get up and move away, and then you can drive. But you know, don't get out of your car and don't approach them. Just all the time you see, you know, YouTube, you see it on the news, people harassing bison or trying to get near them. These things will kill you, so please stay away from the bison. Also, at this park, wherever you go, whether it's the lookout when you're walking down to see the falls, whether you're at Mammoth Hot Springs, whether you're at Old Faithful and the geysers, wherever you go, we carry, I carried and my wife carried on our hip, on our belt, a thing of bear spray. There's grizzly bears, there's black bears. Bear spray will save you. And we get, you know, the big, like, I can't even show you on here because the camera's too close. I'm talking about, you know, almost a foot tall, a big canister, because you want, you know, if a bear's coming at you, you want to douse that thing, and you got to wait till it gets pretty close to you, and you aim for the nose, for the eyes, and you just douse them. The whole thing. You don't do a little spray. You just unload that whole canister right in his face. So remember, you can get their you know, nylon containers where you slip the canister in and you hook it on a belt loop on your waist, and wherever you go in Yellowstone, day or night, morning, if you're hiking, if you're just getting out of your car, bears are everywhere. They don't, there's no areas where it's like, okay, bears, you can't come to this parking lot, the visitor center. You know, you can see a grizzly bear in the middle of a parking lot, or you can see it in the wilderness. They roam everywhere. Hayden Valley, though, is really cool. And again, a lot of reports of wolves here, but definitely we'll see bison. It's a big green meadow that just goes on forever. And then you come down here, and I believe this is kind of the famous fish, you know, the fishing bridge is right here. You can't fish here. You'll see some bears here from time to time, they say. Again, I've been there several times, and I've never seen a bear here. I've seen bears in Grand Teton, but never Yellowstone. And the rangers do a pretty good job of just, in developed areas, they use a beanbag gun and they try to scare the bears away. They want bears to be afraid of people. This is a really quick rundown, you know, but again, you can go like this road, and you go up here, and then you can come around Cook Valley, and then you come around here, and then this goes out to Cody, this goes back down to Grand Teton, and then Old Faithful. And this was just a really fast guide that I'm giving you. If we come again, you know, we'd like to spend some time, me and my wife, you know, over here and stay at Lake Yellowstone Lodge. And I think you can do a tour. There's a boat that takes tours out on the water. So if you want to fish on the streams and lakes here, you don't get a state license. You actually get a federal national park fishing permit. So you need to get a National Park Service fishing permit, and you know, enjoy yourself. Take your time here. It's massive, and don't speed. You don't want to hit deer or elk. There's pronghorn antelopes out here too. You know, marmots will run out in front of you. I had one, and you know, I had to stop for him so he could waddle across the road. There's people getting car wrecks here. People, you know, especially at night, go super slow. You don't want to hit a moose or a bison, because if you're in a little car, it could kill you. Take your time, and that's why I stress, please take more than a day to see stuff. If you have one day and you're just passing through, then I would say see Old Faithful, you know? Spend your time to see that, and if you're heading up to Mammoth Hot Springs, you could see that. Otherwise, Old Faithful is probably the easiest thing to see if you got one day. And then real quick, there's something else that's worth seeing as you leave the park in West Yellowstone. Let's say you're heading back down to Salt Lake City maybe. This is called, it's on the Caribou-Targhee National Forest, Mesa Falls. So as you're taking that road that comes out of West Yellowstone, there's, it's a scenic loop. I don't know the name of the road, the scenic byway, but it comes down here. Oh, here it is, Mesa Falls Scenic Byway. And I think it's a dirt road. There's livestock there, so it's open range, so please be careful, go slow. But you take this, and it'll eventually loop back up and around with the main road out of West Yellowstone. But Mesa Falls is gorgeous. And again, carry your pepper spray. This is in Idaho, down here, and a beautiful falls. I've got video of that too. I don't know if I can. Yep, there you go. There's a. Let's see if I can get that up again. There's the falls there, and this just what's cool is you can't really see it here, and I've got it on video, but there's a walkway that takes you like right to the edge of the falls, and it's beautiful. It's forested, very green here, so you got this strip of green forest, and it's beautiful. But as you get up here, then it's more rangeland, and you've got Forest Service and BLM up here, so there's some dispersed camping along the way. So if you got a camper, you can do that. But again, type in Mesa Falls on the internet. Definitely worth seeing if you like waterfalls, and that's in Idaho. So that's about it for Yellowstone. Like I said, there's so much to see in Yellowstone, and there's like little waypoints and pull-outs, and take advantage of that, especially in areas where there's not a lot of tourists. Pull out. And again, I'd say get up early, like 4:35 to 10 o'clock. That's when you're going to see a lot of wildlife in the morning. And then most of the tour buses are gone by 4 o'clock, 4:30. That's when you go back out, and then from like 4:30 to 9 o'clock, go out and drive around slowly, and especially in big open areas or along water areas, streams and rivers. Use binoculars. And that's when you start looking for, moose and bears and wolves. So you never know what you'll see. But early morning and, in the evening hours, dusk, that's when all the critters come out. So anyway, thanks again for taking the time to watch this. Have fun, be safe, and follow the rules and regulations there. And anytime you go to a place like Yellowstone, do your research in advance. And call a year in advance about getting, if you want to get a hotel or a campground, up to a year it's going to be before you get these places. Thanks again. Thank you. Oh, by the way, for me to keep doing this, it helps if you hit like and subscribe. I've been to a lot of parks since I was a park ranger, and I still visit them in retirement. So if I see a lot of people are liking these videos, I'll do more of them. So anyway, take care.